What's up, fantasy friends? I'm Carrie Oehm from HotRoster today, and we got our first taste of fantasy football playoffs this weekend. And let's not beat around the bush. It was a unique weekend of football. It was kind of ugly with messy weather, injuries, and underwhelming quarterback play across the league. But there were a few standouts, one in particular from Pittsburgh, so let's dig into my biggest winners and losers of Week 14. If you're a Le'Veon Bell owner, you were most likely doing a very happy dance yesterday. 47 fantasy points, 47! Bell's easily the biggest winner of Week 14. He ran for more yards on Sunday than a Steelers back in history with 236 yards in the snow in Buffalo. He also scored all 3 of Pittsburgh's touchdowns and picked up 62 receiving yards on a day where the Steelers' passing game was lackluster at best. But Bell was insane. He's the first player of 2016 with at least 40 points. In fact, his total is the most by an individual player since Jamal Charles managed 51 in 2013. His performance thrust him into the top 5 spot at his position this season, and Bell did it all in a mere 10 contests. This guy is straight fire, and he's one of my biggest winners of Week 14 by a landslide. Another back who had a career day on Sunday was Bilal Powell of the Jets. After Matt Forte suffered a knee injury early in the first quarter against the 49ers, Powell handled the bulk of the backfield duties, which was no big deal, since he finished with a career-high 179 yards from scrimmage, the most for a Jets RB on the road since Curtis Martin in 2004. And hey, he can't forget those 2 touchdowns he had either, including the last one, which happened to be the game-winning score in overtime. He definitely joins my winners list for Week 14, and his 29 fantasy points was the second highest among individual players this week. Powell looked electric out there, and if Forte's injury prevails, Powell should have a bigger role in the Jets' offense. He has the all-around game to put up 100 yards total, so find this guy on your waiver wire if you can. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again next week on my winners list. Well, Powell wasn't the only star RB in the Jets-49ers game. Carlos Hyde, welcome to the winner's circle. Hyde was running wild. He gutted the Jets for monster runs all afternoon, rushing 17 times for a career-best 193 yards on his lone target. He even scored a touchdown. He also totaled 26 fantasy points, his second most fantasy point total in his career. And it was the second best individual score by an RB against the Jets all season. Hyde could also be a winner again next week when he draws another tasty matchup against the Falcons' weak run D. Needless to say, he's a big winner this week. Back to Steelers talk. It wasn't all bells and whistles for the Steelers on Sunday. Bell definitely won owners some of their matchups this week, but Ben Roethlisberger was a definite loser. The man they call Big Ben was brutal in Buffalo. He completed only 17 of 31 passes, threw for a mere 220 yards, and had 3 interceptions. That was good for 2.6 fantasy points, the lowest of any quarterback who started this week. I mean, we shouldn't really be surprised. Big Ben typically isn't good on the road, but you seriously couldn't have expected the results to be this bad against the Bills. That's why Roethlisberger is my biggest loser for Week 14. Another quarterback who joined the struggle bus on Sunday was Russell Wilson of the Seahawks. I mean, my goodness, 5 interceptions in one game. 5. Are you kidding me? Wilson became the first Seahawks player to throw 5 interceptions since John Kitna did in 1999. Remember that guy? And if that wasn't bad enough, Wilson is only the second quarterback to toss 5 picks since Ryan Fitzpatrick did in Week 3 against the Chiefs, throwing 6. Wilson only had 5.5 fantasy points on Sunday. That's his worst performance since Week 7 of 2012, and only the 4th time in 45 career games he was held to single-digit fantasy points. And that's why he's on my loser list this week. Last but not least, another quarterback who decided to join the interception party and my losers list for Week 14 is Drew Brees. Like Big Ben and Wilson, you drafted Brees to be your guy in crunch time. Brees, who had 7 fantasy points last week, actually did worse on Sunday, finishing with only 4. This was largely because Brees tossed 3 interceptions and no touchdowns for the second consecutive week. He has never had a stat line like that in consecutive games ever. That is just brutal. It was also the first time since 2009 he recorded 2 straight games of single-digit fantasy point totals. Overall, Sunday marked the first time ever that 3 Super Bowl champs each threw 3 interceptions all on the same day. That's why Brees, along with Wilson and Big Ben, are the biggest losers for Week 14. Well, that's it for today, fantasy football friends. Make sure to check in tomorrow, again, when we take a look at the quarterback situation for Week 15. And for those of you who don't know what HotRoster is, go to HotRoster.com, check it out, download the app and give it a try. It's like no other fantasy game you've ever played. Then for some help winning the game, check out HotRoster today with the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart and Gary Thorne every weekday at 4:30 Eastern only on the Fantasy Sports Network. For HotRoster now, I'm Carrie Oehm.